You say you've tried everything, but here's the truth. You've never spent 7 full days living as the person you claim you want to become. Not one clean week, not one unbroken war. Because if you did, even once your life would already be unrecognizable. You've betrayed yourself in small ways, daily. Snoozing instead of rising, scrolling instead of reflecting, pleasing instead of protecting. Your failure wasn't massive, it was microscopic, and that's why it lasted for years. Everyone says change takes time. That's a lie. Change takes truth and 7 days of ruthless alignment with it. But truth hurts. And most people would rather feel familiar pain than unknown power. This week, you'll either meet the version of you that's been buried, or you'll bury him deeper, again with silence, comfort, and one more, maybe next week. You don't need motivation, you need exposure. 7 habits, 7 days, no lies this time. That was the first revolt. Waking up early, not for productivity, for defiance. Most people think waking up at 5 a.m. is about getting ahead. That's cute. Waking early, truly early, is not a life hack. It's an act of war. Because the second your alarm goes off, the first voice you hear is not yours. It's the old self, the soft voice, the negotiator. It's too cold. You need rest. 5 more minutes won't hurt. And you believe it not because it's true, but because it's comfortable. That voice isn't tired. It's afraid. Afraid of who you might become if you didn't listen to it. The Stoics understood this better than we do. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being." That was his war cry. Not a quote for Instagram, a command to himself, from himself. Because every morning, even an emperor had to fight to rise. So who are you not to? The first time you wake at 5 a.m., you won't feel powerful. You'll feel groggy, useless, irritated. But that's the point. You are breaking something soft inside you. Not violently, not with shame, but with presence. You rise while the rest of the world sleeps, not to prove anything, but to reclaim your sovereignty. The silence will hit you first. Then, the stillness. No pings, no obligations, no noise. For once, you hear your own thoughts, unfiltered. It's terrifying and beautiful. One morning you'll walk outside and see the sky bleeding into gold. No one's posting it, no one's watching. It's just you and the dawn and the realization you're not behind in life. You've just been waking up too late to meet yourself. If this habit were about time management, it wouldn't matter. But it's not. It's about inner alignment. Because how you rise is how you live. And if the first thing you do is surrender to weakness, what else will you surrender to for the rest of the day? So no, waking up early isn't the goal. It's the first act of reclaiming your soul. You either rise, or you rot slowly in the comfort of delay. You rose before the world. Now the real fight begins not with others, but with the body you've ignored, numbed, and blamed. You say you're not an athlete. Good. This isn't about fitness. This is about owning the vessel that carries your mind. The Stoics believed in training not just the soul, but the body, because they knew the two were never separate. Epictetus was a slave. His body was broken, his freedom stolen, yet he wrote, "Difficulties show what men are." Why? Because the body in pain reveals truth the mind hides. Most people live like their body is a burden. They treat it as a machine to be forced, drugged, neglected. or as a decoration to be displayed, compared, judged. But your body isn't either. It's your proving ground. The first day you move intentionally, not to burn calories, but to meet yourself, you'll realize this isn't about reps or sets. It's about showing up for 20 minutes against the part of you that says, tomorrow, just skip it. No one will notice. But you notice, and the more often you choose skip, the more your soul learns it's optional to show up for yourself. You want mental clarity? Run until the noise in your head burns off in the wind. You want self-respect? Pick up something heavy and feel your weakness scream and keep going anyway. You want peace? Try holding a plank while your arms shake and your thoughts beg for escape. And when you stay in the pain, without fleeing, you'll understand what peace actually is. The absence of self-betrayal. This isn't about becoming a gym rat. It's about mastering one simple rule. I move because I choose to, not because I feel like it. One morning, I ran in the cold, lungs tight, knees sore, no music, no audience. Just breath, steps, silence. And halfway through I broke. Not physically, emotionally. I cried mid-run, not because I was hurt, but because I was free. I had never realized how long I had been at war with my own body, punishing it with laziness, with neglect, with shame. That day, I made peace. Not by resting, but by meeting my body with full presence, every ache, every gasp, every step forward. This is what Stoic discipline looks like in motion. Not perfect form, but perfect honesty. When your shoulders burn, and your breath shortens, and you want to stop, can you remain who you say you are? No one's watching. No one will clap. But if you push through, something shifts. Not in your muscles, in your mindset. You stop being the kind of person who needs motivation and become the kind of person who keeps their word under stress. That's not a workout. That's spiritual training. And your body is the dojo. So tomorrow, when your mind says, skip it, don't argue, don't explain, just move. Because every time you train, you teach your soul one thing: I will not abandon myself when things get hard. You've moved your body. Now it's time to confront the mind, the real battlefield. And you won't do it by talking. You'll do it by writing, not tweeting, not texting, writing in silence, with no filter, to no one but yourself. You think journaling is soft, romantic, maybe even a little weak. But if that's true, why are you afraid of it? Because, deep down, you know, your words reveal your wars. Seneca wrote to Lucilius not to impress, but to interrogate himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations as a private conversation, not for legacy, but for survival. That's what journaling is. Survival. You write or you rot. You excavate the lies, or you keep living them. The first time you sit in silence with a blank page, it'll feel like nothing. You'll fidget. Your hand will stall. You'll want to check your phone. That's your resistance speaking. That's the ego, panicking because it knows you're about to expose it. Don't try to be profound. Just write. Write the truth, even if it's ugly, boring, repetitive. Especially if it's repetitive, because that's how you find your loops, your traps, your delusions. One night, I sat in bed after a long, anxious day. No music, no distractions, just a pen and my mind twitching, chaotic, full of noise. I started writing. I don't even know what's wrong. Then came, I feel like I'm wasting time. Then, I'm scared no one really knows me. And finally, I'm not sure I know myself. 4 lines. 4 cuts through years of distraction. That's what a journal does. It doesn't entertain. It exposes. You don't write to feel better. You write to become honest. You begin to see. You weren't angry, you were scared. You weren't tired, you were directionless. You weren't stuck. You were running in circles, quietly, efficiently, blindly. Journaling trains one of the most stoic virtues: clarity. No story, no drama, just what is. You turn chaos into language, and language into insight. But here's the warning. The page remembers. You'll see your patterns, the same excuses, the same fears, the same fake goals you keep writing every week but never move toward. You'll either break that cycle or keep documenting your decay in high resolution. Some people meditate, some people vent, but a Stoic? A Stoic documents the truth, not for approval, not for applause, but because the examined mind is the only one that can be led. So tonight, open a blank page. Don't aim for wisdom. Aim for blood. Write until your excuses dry up. Write until your demons get bored. Write until your soul shows up, tired of hiding. And when it does, don't flinch. Don't apologize. Just write. Because you'll come to realize something brutal and beautiful. The version of you you've been searching for has been waiting for you at the end of your pen. You've moved your body. You've confronted your mind. But what about your instincts? What about the moment you open the fridge, not because you're hungry, but because you're anxious, bored, sad, or numb? What you eat reveals what you can't face. You think eating is physical. It's not. It's deeply psychological. You're not shoving food into your mouth. You're shoving silence, emotion, tension. Most people eat to escape. Fast, distracted, standing up, scrolling, talking, consuming not just food, but stimulation. And yet they wonder why they feel so heavy, not just in body, but in soul. Mindful eating is not about calories. It's about confronting how much of your consumption is emotional camouflage. The Stoics didn't preach diets. They practiced restraint and presence. Epictetus said, "When we eat, let us eat. When we speak, let us speak." That sounds simple, but try it. Try sitting with your meal. No screen, no noise, just you and your hunger. You'll begin to ask, is this real hunger or emotional residue? Am I eating or avoiding? That question alone will terrify you. The first day I ate in silence, something strange happened. I tasted the food. No, really tasted it. A piece of fruit became a sensory map. A bowl of oats felt like warmth I hadn't allowed myself in weeks. Not because the food was special, but because I was finally present enough to receive it. I realized I had spent years eating in a trance. Not just overeating, but under-experiencing. Food became anesthesia, a delay button on emotion, a socially accepted form of self-disconnection. But when you slow down, when you chew with presence, you begin to see what the Stoics meant when they talked about temperance. Not bland restraint, but elegant control. One evening, I had a craving. Not for food, but for validation. Stress from work. Tension in my chest. I opened the cabinet, saw the chocolate, paused, then asked, will this fix the ache or just mute it? I made tea instead. Saturday down. Let the discomfort speak. And it passed like a wave. I didn't fight it. I just didn't feed it. That's what mindful eating trains. Not discipline for its own sake, but the ability to sit with sensation without escaping it. So don't just track your meals. Track your motives. The late-night snack. The lunch you inhale in 5 minutes. The constant grazing. Each is a message. You're not weak. You're just disconnected. And mindful eating isn't a fix. It's a reconnection. So tonight, eat like someone who finally respects the machinery of life. Taste. Pause. Notice how food feels not just in your mouth, but in your mood. And ask, am I feeding myself or numbing myself? Because every time you eat with presence, you're telling your nervous system one thing: I am here, I am in charge, I am awake. You've reclaimed your body. You've confronted your hunger. But one parasite still lives. Not in your blood, but in your attention. You carry it in your pocket. You call it connection, but it's more like submission in disguise. You say you want peace, yet the first thing you touch in the morning is a screen. You say you're tired but scroll until 2 a.m., feeding yourself noise. You say you're distracted, and yet you willingly invite 10,000 voices into your head every single day. That's not technology, that's mental slavery with good UX. The Stoics didn't have iPhones, but they knew one truth we've forgotten. You become what you give your attention to, Marcus Aurelius. And right now, you've given your attention to nothing real, and so you've become numb to reality itself. The modern world doesn't steal your time. It trades you dopamine for identity erosion. You click, you scroll, you react, and slowly, the gap between what you think and what you see collapses. Until you're no longer thinking, you're just echoing. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in silence? No music, no notifications, no feed. Can you even remember? I couldn't. Until one night, the Wi-Fi cut out during a storm. No signal, no scrolling. I sat there, itching like a junkie. No distraction, no stimulation. Just me and my untrained mind. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't boredom I was avoiding. It was myself. So I set the rule. 1 hour. No screens. No exceptions. The first few days were brutal. I felt like I'd lost something. In truth, I was regaining what I'd abandoned. My own consciousness. With that hour came strange miracles. I finished a book. I took a long walk and noticed a tree I'd passed for years but never seen. I journaled with real focus, not for content, but for truth. I called someone instead of liking their post. And the world slowed down, but not in a boring way, in a sacred way. Because when you reclaim your attention, you shrink the world back to something real again. Not infinite feeds, just one breath, one conversation, one honest thought, not shaped by an algorithm. But here's the truth. The screen isn't the problem. Your passivity is. You can use a blade to protect or to wound. The same is true for a phone. So, use it. Don't worship it. Use it to learn, to communicate, to create. But once it starts to use you, cut the cord. Reclaim just 1 sacred hour a day. Let silence speak. Let presence return. Let discomfort surface and reveal what you've buried under pixels. Because what you choose to look at every day is what you're silently choosing to become. And if you keep choosing distraction over depth, don't be surprised when your life feels shallow. Most people don't fear pain. They fear unfamiliar pain. the kind they didn't choose, the kind that arrives uninvited. So, what if you invited it? What if, for once, you stepped into discomfort deliberately, not because you had to, but because you wanted to know who you really are without comfort? Epictetus trained himself in this way. He warned his students, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want, but welcome whatever happens." But how do you welcome hardship if your life is wrapped in climate control, instant gratification, and psychological bubble wrap? Answer: you rehearse discomfort. You make it your training partner, not your enemy. And it changes you. Try this. Take a cold shower. Not for wellness, not for TikTok, but to feel the instinct scream and not obey it. Walk instead of drive. Fast for 12 hours. Sleep without a pillow. Speak the truth, even when your lips shake. These aren't aesthetic challenges. They are rituals of spiritual rewilding, and each one chips away at the false belief, "I need comfort to function." You don't. You've just never tested that theory long enough. I once went 3 days without hot water. Plumbing broke. Winter. Every cell in my body begged for heat. The first shower? Agony. The second? Tolerable. The third? I felt free. Not because it was pleasant, but because I realized, I'm fine. This won't kill me, and I don't need everything to feel good in order to do what's right. That is Stoic resilience, built in small, silent refusals of indulgence. Because when you choose discomfort on your terms, you shrink the power of future pain. You tell life, "You can take a lot from me, but not my ability to adapt." And when the real trial comes, betrayal, loss, humiliation, you don't collapse. You bow. You breathe. And you endure. Deliberate discomfort isn't about masochism. It's about identity forging. You enter the fire not to burn, but to burn off what isn't real. The Stoics knew suffering is inevitable, but choosing to suffer in advance turns the unpredictable into the expected, and the expected is manageable. So look around your life. Where is comfort breeding weakness? Is it your temperature, your sugar, your constant availability, your addiction to ease? You don't need to destroy all softness. You just need to remind your nervous system that it doesn't own you. And nothing reminds it more clearly than cold, hunger, silence, or sweat. On purpose. So today, choose something hard. Not to prove you're strong, but to practice not needing to be comfortable in order to remain conscious. Because the next time life blindsides you, you won't beg to escape. You'll recognize the storm, smile, and say, "I've trained for this." You've disciplined your body, faced your thoughts, challenged your addictions. You've stepped into fire on purpose. Now comes the final test. Not physical, not visible, but psychological. Can you say no without defending it? Most people can't. Not because they're weak, but because they've been conditioned to believe that peace is earned through politeness. That kindness requires self-sacrifice. That being good means being available. So they explain, apologize, soften every boundary with a smile. Until one day they look around and realize they've built a life for everyone but themselves. The Stoics had no time for that illusion. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Do what's right, but be nice about it." He said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." No disclaimers, no footnotes, no emotional buffering. Because every time you justify your no to someone who doesn't deserve your energy, You surrender a piece of your sovereignty. And the truth is, most people don't want your explanation. They want your compliance. So when you finally stop explaining, you'll lose some people, but you'll find yourself. One morning, I got a call. Another request. Another favor. I was tired. Not sick, not busy, just tired. But the guilt script started running. Say, you've got a deadline. Say you're not feeling well. Make it soft, make it sound reasonable. But this time, I didn't. I just said, number, I'm not available. Silence. Then, okay. And that was it. No collapse, no explosion. Just boundaries enforced without drama. And I realized, explaining is often just fear, dressed in courtesy. Fear of being judged, misunderstood, left out. But here's the Stoic breakthrough. You don't owe anyone comfort at the cost of your clarity. You don't owe peace to people who profit from your self-erasure. And you damn sure don't owe permission to protect your mind. So start with one. One, no without reason. One clear refusal. Not angry, not cold, just certain. Not to be defiant, but to be undivided. Because a life without boundaries isn't generous. It's bleeding in public. And the people who love you won't need explanations. They'll respect the strength it took to choose yourself. Quietly, cleanly, completely. Just one word, number. And if something in you didn't just agree, but woke up, then don't clap. Don't say, that was deep. Prove it. Comment below with the one habit you're choosing, and for 7 days, protect it like a vow. And if you're done performing stability for others, and ready to build the kind of mind that doesn't flinch when life hits, then subscribe. Not for content, for weapons. This isn't a channel. It's a forge.